something which is talking about, or me listening to Stop Asian Hate through, like, I'd love to look at classical music through that lens somehow. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I'm not sure how you would want to talk about it, but I guess a couple of the ingredients could be that being in classical music, the mixture of cultures is pretty wide in terms of Asian and what do I say, European centric performers, and it's really a part of all of our upbringing. And how does that, how, what is our responsibility, what is, how does Asian racism, racism against Asians, how does that all pertain to us, what does it mean? Can you just talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's such a different it's so different from our general um, demographic makeup, right? Um, Here in Oregon, it's an overwhelmingly white community um, with a relatively small Asian. I mean, in the whole country, the Asian population is very small. Um, but in classical music, it's quite significant. Um, and so that's really different. And when I went to music school, and actually, frankly, in high school, when I joined the youth philharmonic, the Portland Youth Philharmonic here, it I didn't really realize it at the time, but I felt comfortable there, and I think it's because I saw people who looked more like me, and yeah, of course, we have this shared interest of music, but there are a lot of Asians there too. And the same when I went off to college, um, there there's a significant Asian percentage of musicians who are Asian. Um, Even so, there's the same uh, kind of microaggressions that you find, and that's a sort of more recent term that that I think not everyone is comfortable with. Um, if if you're part of the um, dominant culture, in this case, white, uh, European culture, um, it's hard to understand how microaggressions are uh, can be sort of toxic, and it's not that each one of them is a devastatingly hurtful experience. It's just it's just somebody picking at a scab, every day over and over. So it's a wound that never heals and just kind of festers. And uh, and yeah, it's been an interesting year with the this huge surge in the violence and hate against Asians, and it's it's been um, when we talk about Asians, it's like this vast sea of different cultures and that have often very little to do with each other. But if we were to make one generalization, um, across a lot of Asian cultures, you see this a similar interest in not complaining about what's happening to you, but sort of accepting. There's this kind of acceptance of your circumstance and trying to make the best of it. And you see that in a lot of different Asian um, culture, and so there hasn't historically been a big voice against the prejudice. Um, but that's changing now, and it's interesting, and people are recognizing and calling out the the little things, the microaggressions, and I think that's important because um, it's easy to say, oh, look, this person was punched for no reason on the street. Um, and it's easy to see that and say, oh, I would never do that to anybody. I'm not a racist. Um, but it's it's harder to um, see an Asian person and think, oh, you must know so and so. You'd be great friends. You have a lot in common, just because they're two Asian people.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Hmm.
Uh, I remember.
Assumptions and small comments. Do you think that what do you think about Asian bias in classical music? Do you think it's does it affect people getting jobs? Does it affect you're saying it affects people's treatment of people, but what about professionally? How do you feel about classical music professionally?
Well, there's this persistent perception of Asians as being like somehow emotionally inscrutable and
Right.
uh, detached
Right.
from, and so um, the trope that comes out of that is, well, it's technically flawless, but so cold and unemotional,
Yes, of
and
course I've heard that a lot. Of course I've heard that a lot.
yeah, and like, why is that we're only hearing that about the Asian players?
Yeah.
And I would love to be more flawless. I'm like so
Yeah.
far from that. Um,
So what do you can you unpack that a little bit? I mean, how does that affect players, all of us? How does that affect us and why what's up with that?
I mean, I have a friend who's been pointing that out in the world of opera, how there are these wonderful Asian singers who aren't getting cast in roles
Okay.
because of how they look,
Yeah.
because it's not believable that
Mm.
you could
Wow.
have an Asian Rodolfo or something,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, and that's not cool. It was certainly in drama and in film and TV, that's long been the case that
Yes.
Asians are only cast in certain stereotypical roles.
Right.
Um, as as musicians, it's accepted to be an Asian string player that or an Asian pianist.
Yes.
We're used to seeing that, and but even in that there are other instruments that are less um, people are we're not as comfortable seeing Asian people play different instruments or
Hmm.
different kinds of music,
Hmm.
um, and being creative and funny and fun and joyful and things like that are uh, those aren't traits that are uh, no race has cornered the market on that. That's
That's for
stuff
sure.
that so
That's for sure. Kenji, do you feel like it's going the right direction in classical music? Do you think it's starting to loosen? Do you think it's starting to be more open?
Oh, absolutely. I think so, and I think just the fact that these discussions are
Mm-hmm.
coming out now and people are actually talking about this, I think is so helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And Monica and I talk about this. We never were. Um, I mean, even until we moved out here, we were sort of oblivious to all of that, and just because you just want to like push it away and pretend it's not there,
Yeah.
and do your thing and think that it's all okay, and it's only been more recently that we've understood our responsibility and kind of standing up and saying stuff and modeling for our kids,
Mm-hmm.
um, trying to, as we send them to school and they're overwhelmingly white
Right.
community, we want them to feel pride in their
Mm-hmm.
heritage and feel comfortable expressing that and being themselves. And so, yeah, just trying to be part of the solution, I guess.
What can I do to be part of the solution, or what can we do? Can you tell us what we need to do? Tell me what I need to do.
You know what you need to do. You're doing it. You're asking questions and you're listening to answers, and um, that is just uh, so valuable and so appreciated when um, people who are white uh, make the space for that. You know, they ask the question and actually listen. Um, and historically, that hasn't happened. Um, there's been you hear a lot about the invisibility of the Asian experience, and it's been easy to be sort of invisible, and that's changing now, and it requires not, the onus isn't just on us to speak up about this. It's to for other people to actually listen.
Yeah. Well, Kenji, there's no one I'd rather listen to than you with whatever you're going to do or play or talk about. And this has been such an excellent inside chat. It's just lovely.
Yeah, it's just so good to
Kenji,
talk to you.
it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much. I know this is really important family time for you. So I'm going to let you go, but thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you, and
you.
I'm super excited for Inside Music Academy.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Bye bye.
right. Bye.